What happens after we die? Does this question even make sense? Should we even talk about death? Goethe, the author of Faust, tried his best to avoid the topic. Camus, on the other hand, said that the only important problem of philosophy is the question, why not commit suicide? Death, the issue of finitude, has troubled humans for as long as there has been culture. We can't talk about the experience of death, but that doesn't stop us from talking about what death has meant in different cultures, what the inexorability of death means in our own lives, and even speculating about what experiencing it will be like. So let's have a word about these speculations. Many people think life is a question of physics and biology, or, at the very least, is heavily dependent upon certain realities ascertained by these sciences. For these people, death is final. It's how the world ends for someone. What holds us together as sentient life forms is our body, our organs, our heart, our lungs, our brains, and so on. And when it can no longer do this trick, then life is no more. You are no more. But what is that like? A future in which we won't exist? Well, we have no solid reason for supposing it will be any different from the billions upon billions of years in the past in which we didn't exist, the years in which the earth didn't exist, the years in which the crazy dinosaurs roamed this earth, the years of countless wars and wise sayings, the years of our forefathers. So this, let us say, secular notion of death and what happens after it is perhaps the one that requires the smallest number of assumptions, and thus the one less vulnerable to Occam's razor. Naturally, many people don't think it's the most satisfying answer. Thus, for centuries, people have put forward different stories about a life that lies in wait after our material death. Oftentimes, the people who tell these stories claim they're divinely or mystically inspired. As I see it, we can divide the religious ideas regarding what happens after death in two broad categories. Number one, those which speak of another world or other worlds. And two, those which speak of the recurrence of life in this world. Both of these categories are dependent on a peculiar conception of the soul as something that survives the death of the body, much like a driver may survive death in a car crash. This conception of the soul has been the source of a great deal of philosophical problems for over 1,000 years. We needn't speak about them presently. The basic idea is that what we truly are is this soul, about which we know very little actually, and that the body is only its temporary abode. In Christianity and in Islam, the soul will travel to a different world after the death of the body. If you did well during your embodied life, that'll be heaven, paradise. If you were a bad dude, you're going to heck. Now, of course, I'm simplifying, but that's how it goes broadly. Buddhism, on the other hand, focuses more on the idea of recurrence in this world. This story tells us that when we die, we reincarnate and live another life in this world. We can even reincarnate as creatures that aren't human. Dogs, cats, insects, and so on. There are religions that combine both these conceptions of life after death. Spiritism's story, I'm told, is one in which people will reincarnate continuously until Judgment Day, the day in which the elect will go to heaven and the damned will fall down to heck. Buddhism is not completely devoid of a transcendental different world, though. If you achieve enlightenment, you can transcend the illusions and suffering of the material world and completely cease to be, and achieve definitive nirvana. Oddly enough, it appears Buddhism's heaven is very similar to what the secular explanation tells us will happen anyway. It will just take you longer, maybe 1,000 lives, to get there. You'll have to get wise before getting to turn the lights off forever.